all false in this connection. The seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of the society will still accept this on account of its being an honest attempt for glorifying the Almighty Great, so much now badly needed. From Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Volume 1. Bhaktivedanta Swami, accompanied by some of the Keshavji Math's devotees, made a short preaching tour of Agra, Kanpur, Jhansi, and Delhi. But he was soon back in his own place at the Vansi Gopalji temple. No one called him Abhay Babu any longer. Even amongst friends, it was Swamiji or Maharaj. And people often address him as Swami Bhaktivedanta Ji, Swami Maharaj, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. People readily recognize him as a sadhu and offer respect. Yet his basic problem remained. He wanted to write and print, but he had no money. He wanted to broadcast the message of Godhead, but few were willing to listen. Such things hadn't been changed by his becoming a Swami. When a librarian advised Bhaktivedanta Swami to write books, they were permanent, whereas newspapers were read once and thrown away. He took it that his spiritual master was speaking through this person. Then an Indian army officer who liked back to Godhead suggested the same thing. Bhaktivedanta Swami took it as a revelation from his spiritual master. As a dependent servant, constantly meditating on the desire of his transcendental master and seeking his guidance, Bhaktivedanta Swami felt his spiritual master reciprocal blessings and personal presence. More and more he was feeling confidential contact with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and now he was feeling an inspiration to write books. He considered Srimad Bhagavatam because it was the most important and authoritative Vaishnava scripture. Although Bhagavad Gita was the essence of all Vedic knowledge, presented in a brief ABC fashion, Srimad Bhagavatam was elaborate. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur had both written Bengali commentaries on the Bhagavatam. In fact, most of the great Vaishnava Acharya of the past had commented on Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya himself had recommended Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Vedic literature. An English translation and commentary for this book could one day change the heart of the entire world. And if he could publish even a few books, his preaching would be enhanced and he would go abroad with confidence and not appear empty-handed. So one day Gaurachandra Goswami, proprietor of the Radha Damodar temple, approached Bhaktivedanta Swami, inviting him to come live at the Radha Damodar temple, being the eternal home of Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami. It would be more suitable for his writing and translating. Bhaktivedanta Swami was interested. He had never stopped his regular visit there, and he always felt inspired in the presence of the Samadhi tomb of the great leaders of the Lord Chaitanya's movement, Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami. But when he went to look at the two available rooms, he found them in poor repair. They had not been maintained or lived in for many years. Not wanting to miss the opportunity, however, Bhaktivedanta Swami agreed to take the rooms at 5 rupees per month. He estimated that for a little more than a 500 rupees, he could have electricity installed, an extensive repair made, and when it was finished, he could move in. Bhaktivedanta Swami saw the invitation as auspicious, and living there would complement his new project of presenting Srimad Bhagavatam in English. Of all Vrindavan's temples, Radha Damodar had the largest collection of original writing by the 6 Goswamis and their followers. More than 2,000 separate manuscripts, many of them 300, some even 400 years old. Bhaktivedanta Swami looked forward to residing there someday and serving in the company of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Jiva Goswami. For now, he would remain at the Vansi Gopalji temple, and with whatever money he could collect, he would gradually repair the rooms. It was an important maxim of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati that a preacher should go to the cities and not remain in the seclusion of a holy place. So in that spirit, Bhaktivedanta Swami continued commuting to Delhi, even though to him it was a hell, and even though he had no fixed residence there. Often he was taken in by businessmen who felt obliged on the basis of Indian culture, a good man, if he wanted to be favored by God, should accommodate the sadhus and give them meals and place to stay. But the vision of such pious men was a sentimental Hinduism, and their receptions were artificial. They could not really appreciate Bhaktivedanta Swami's work, and Bhaktivedanta Swami was not of a mind to impose himself upon such host. Then he spoke with Mr. Hitsaran Sharma, manager of the Radha Press. In the past, Mr. Sharma had printed flyers and stationery for the League of Devotees, and Bhaktivedanta Swami had stayed in Mr. Sharma's house on occasion. Mr. Sharma introduced Bhaktivedanta Swami to Pandit Sri Krishna Sharma, a caste Brahmana and active religionist, secretary to the century-old Delhi Religious Society, Sri Naval Prem Sabha. Out of sympathy for Bhaktivedanta Swami's literary labors, Krishna Pandit gave him a room in his Radha Krishna temple in the Chippiwada neighborhood of Old Delhi. Now Bhaktivedanta Swami would have a permanent office in Delhi. The train from Mathura would arrive at the Old Delhi station near Chandni Chowk, the broad avenue down which poured a river of workday traffic, rickshaws, bicycle riders, sometimes a dozen abreast, autos in lesser numbers, men running on foot, pulling heavy carts, and beasts of burden, donkeys, oxen, an occasional camel or elephant carrying heavy loads, and being driven by men with whips in their hands. From the intensely busy Chandni Chowk, Bhaktivedanta Swami would take the short walk to Chippiwada, past the Red Fort, keeping the Gauri Shankar temple on his left, then proceeding along a side street past the large, imposing Jama Mosque near Chippiwada, the street would become narrow. Chippiwada had been a Muslim neighborhood until the Indian-Pakistan partitions of 1947, when thousands of Punjabi Hindus had settled there. Chippiwada was part of a mixed Hindu-Muslim neighborhood, so crowded with people that cars were not allowed to enter the streets. Only ox carts and rickshaws could penetrate the narrow, crowded lanes, and in some areas the lanes were planted with iron posts to keep rickshaws out. Even a bicycle rider would create havoc among the densely packed crowds of shoppers and workers who move along the streets and lanes. Side street led to other side street, lanes so narrow that the second floor balconies on opposite side of the street were only inches apart, practically forming a roof over the street, so that a pedestrian could glimpse only the narrowest patch of sky. Private yards, shops, and alleys become almost indistinguishable from the public thoroughfares. Although most shops hope sign in Hindi with subheadings in English, some bore the curved scripts of Arabic, and women dressed in black with veiled faces were a common sight. In the heart of this intense city life was the narrow entrance of Krishna Pandit Radha Krishna temple, with a plaque of the demigod Ganesh and a row of nesting pigeons just above its simple arched door. The temple, with its residents' families, retained some of the tenement atmosphere of the neighborhood. Although the temple room was dark, the Radha Krishna deities on the altar were well illuminated. Radharani was the color of cream, and Krishna was black marble and stood about 2 feet tall. He was decorated with dots of fresh sandalwood pulp and mask of yellow sandalwood on his forehead. Both deities were dressed in silk garments. On the second floor, just above the deity room, was a guest room, Bhaktivedanta Swami's room. Its cement walls and floor were completely bare. Protruding up from the floor was a 3 foot high concrete pyramid with a spire indicating that the deities were directly beneath. Bhaktivedanta Swami soon found that his room was not secluded but was side by side with other residential rooms. Outside the door, a metal grating smaller than in Vansigopalji temple and Kesavji Mutt revealed the small temple courtyard below. From the roof, hardly a single tree could be seen. The view was of tenement rooftops, so tightly crowded together that it seems one could walk from roof to roof all the way to the colossal Jama Masjid. The mosque's 3 large domes, surrounded by taller minarets, rose high above the ordinary buildings, attracting flocks of pigeons which perch upon the domes or flew in wheeling patterns in the sky. Krishna Pandit, dressed in a black, lightweight cotton coat, the kind made internationally recognizable by Pandit Nehru, and he had the Nehru hat also. He spoke good English and was garrulous. He was well known and respected within the neighborhood. He saw Bhaktivedanta Swami as God sent a sadhu for him to take care of and thus prove once again the pieties of Hindu culture. He found his new guest likable, a simple, gentle, gracious, and accomplished Vaishnava scholar. Very well. Krishna Pandit said he understood the importance of the Bhaktivedanta Swami's Sanatan Dharma mission and his need for a Delhi office. And he vowed to supply his guest with whatever he required. Although Bhaktivedanta Swami was reluctant to ask for anything for himself, Krishna Pandit brought in a sitting mat and a low table, placing them before the pyramid. And he also brought a mattress. He showed Bhaktivedanta Swami how to operate the room's single light, a bulb, and a metal shade that hung from a cord and could be raised or lowered by hand. He brought a picture of Radha and Krishna that had been given to his guru by the Maharaj of Jaipur and set it within a niche in the wall, relishing that Bhaktivedanta Swami could gaze upon it with the eyes of a true devotee. Bhaktivedanta Swami had wanted a secure place for writing books before going to the West, and Lord Krishna had provided it. Now he could work either in Vrindavan or in New Delhi. Almost immediately, he became back to Godhead again, serializing book excerpts from his previous manuscripts, while at the same time beginning Srimad Bhagavatam. When Krishna Pandit learned of his guest's lone struggle to produce back to Godhead, he volunteered to help with some of the business aspect of the publication. Bhaktivedanta Swami was indeed gratified by Krishna Pandit's sincere help, and in appreciation, he gave him an addition to his name, Hari Bhaktanudas, one who shows the Lord devotees. After 6 months in Chippiwada, Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote an appreciation in the temple's guest book as follows. I'm pleased to write herein that I have come to Delhi from my headquarters 1/859 KC Ghat, Vrindavan, UP, purely on spiritual mission to propagate the cult of devotional service of the Lord. And I'm more pleased to mention herewith that Sriman Sri Krishna Sharma, Hari Bhaktanudas, has provided me a suitable room for my literary activities. I'm publishing an English fortnightly magazine of the name Back to Godhead from this place, and the novel Prem Sabha, of which Sri Krishnanji is honorary secretary, is arranging for my daily lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam. Late Pandit Jyoti Prasad Sharma, father of Sri Krishnaji, was also known to me, and during his lifetime, whenever I used to come to Delhi, late Pandit Jyoti Prasad would provide me with residential place. His good son is also following in the footprints of his noble father, and as secretary of the noble Prem Sabha, he is doing good service in propagating Ramanam all over the city. In neat English script, Bhaktivedanta Swami went on to write that in his opinion, temples should be used solely for educating the public in spiritual values, and that it was his personal mission to organize temples for that service. Temples are not meant for ordinary householders engaged simply in the matter of animal propensities. Those who are actually engaged in the service of the Lord deity, the predominator of the temple, can only be allowed to remain in the temple, otherwise not. I remember Tamal Krishna Maharaj also mentioned to me that there should be no householder should stay in the temple. Only brahmachari can live. But one exception was made to my godbrother, who was from China, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, that Gurudev allowed him to stay in one of the rooms next to the gift shop in the old building. Trying to compose Srimad Bhagavatam at Chippiwada, while surrounded by sometimes noisy families with their non-devotional domestic habits, had impressed upon him the importance of not using a temple as an apartment house. Despite his plans to settle down and begin the monumental task of translating Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhaktivedanta Swami was ready to preach in other ways also. In October of 1959, he had encountered a news article in the Times of India. 2 American scientists has received the Nobel Prize in Physics for discovering the antiproton, according to one of the fundamental assumptions of the new theory. The article read, quote, "There may exist another world or an anti-world built up of an antimatter," unquote. The quote, "other world," unquote, reminded Bhaktivedanta Swami of the eternal spiritual world described in Bhagavad Gita. He was well aware that the scientists were not speaking of antimaterial in the sense of eternal or spiritual, but he thought of using their scientific terms to capture the interest of scientific-minded people. Utility is the principle, Haribol. He convinced of an essay presenting the theistic science of Bhagavad Gita in terms of the antimaterial particle and the antimaterial world. It was a time when the whole world was talking of space travel. Indian news media had reported the Russian Sputnik 2 years ago, and the race for space had begun. Seizing on the current interest in space travel, Bhaktivedanta Swami described how by Bhakti Yoga the soul can travel past the farthest reaches of space to the eternal planets of the spiritual world, where life is blissful and full of knowledge. He gave his own phrase translation of Bhagavad Gita verses, couched in the language of the new physics with an antimaterial particle and antimaterial world. The complete work, Easy Journey to Other Planets, was a 15,000-word manuscript, and he showed it to Hitsaran Sharma of Radha Press, but he didn't have enough money to get the little book printed. In February of 1960, Bhaktivedanta Swami decided to print it himself in 2 installments of Back to Godhead. The article drew an immediate response from a physicist at the Gujarat University in Ahmedabad, Mr. Y.G. Nayak, who received Back to Godhead through the mail. Dr. Nayak thought Bhaktivedanta Swami's application of the antimaterial principle was really a good one. This is no doubt a classic essay. Dr. Nayak was interested in further discussion on physics and transcendental knowledge, and Bhaktivedanta Swami replied with equal enthusiasm, finally asking the physicist to join him in distributing the cultural heritage of India to the whole world. Convinced that such an essay had great potential to interest educated English-speaking readers, Bhaktivedanta Swami worked hard to raise enough in donation to print Easy Journey to Other Planets as a paperback book. He finally did so in the fall of 1960. Planets as a paperback book. He finally did so in the fall of 90. Oh, I repeat that line. A foreword by Dr. N.K. Siddhanta, Vice Chancellors of the University of Delhi, arrived late but was included in the book as an insert as follows. While everyone may gain from it, the student community in particular is recommended to read the book with care and practice Bhakti Yoga, which will help to strengthen the mind and build up character. I shall be glad to see this work read by the students and the teachers alike. Several Indian scientists and scholars contributed reviews noting the book's, quote, scientific cum spiritual vision, unquote, and, quote, the method of speeding over space not by mechanical acceleration of speed, but through psychological effort and spiritual emancipation, unquote. It was only 38 pages, but it was his first publication aside from the one-page folded newspaper, Back to Godhead. He tried to distribute the little book effectively. He gave one copy to Dr. P. Banerjee of the National Museum of New Delhi. Dr. Banerjee, he used to come to the library and consult some books, and I met him there. He gave me a book called Easy Journey to Other Planets. He gave me some copies to distribute for a rupee or a half a rupee each. I felt attracted to him. I thought he was a saintly person with pure devotion and without any outward glamour. He was not out to attract people just for name and fame. He had little support from anybody. He was living alone in a small room in Chippiwada. He was devoted to his studies. So I asked him, quote, sir, if you have time and if you don't mind coming to my house, could you kindly come on Sundays and recite the Bhagavad in my house, unquote. He readily agreed. He was a good scholar. He was learned in the scriptures, and he was fond of communicating his ideas to others. He was a good speaker and a good conversationalist. He was a very polite person. Whatever he said very distinctly. He spoke in Bengali and explained the essence of the verses. Sometimes he also referred to the commentaries just to give me more information. The others were not very much interested in commentary or in difficult aspect. But because he knew that I have some studies in the field, he explained the commentaries for my sake and for the sake of one or two other gentlemen who were also very elderly and very scholarly. The gathering at my house would be attended by about 20 or 30 people, and he would continue his explanation for 1 or 2 hours. Then he would recite the Hare Krishna mantra and would also later part with the kartals and harmonium. So it was a very enjoyable gathering because he made the difficult things very easy and he explained everything to all of us according to our needs. He knew that this much is for this person, this much is intended for this man, this much for the others. Discrimination. Haribol. That's called the Madhyama Adhikari. Even though they are a Uttama Bhakta, they come to the Madhyama level to make the preach, to preach the other people. After the meetings, he used to take a little rest in my house. I requested him to take meals in my house, but he said he did not take meals prepared by others. But when he met my wife and she said she would be happy to prepare the meals, he said, quote, all right, I will take, unquote. And she used to prepare meals on Sundays when he would come. Prabhupada is so merciful. He sometimes asks me how to get more and more people attracted toward this field. But as a government worker, I could not pursue anyone very openly. Nor had I the time to organize anything on a big scale for him. But he was not satisfied with that. He asked me if I could organize on a bigger scale. Prabhupada doesn't happy with 30 or 40 people. He knew that the people who attended the meeting at my house were very old, 70, 80, one was 90 years of age, retired, educated persons. It lasted for no less than a year. After that, he said he would be trying to go out to other places. He asked me to continue the gathering, but I said, I'm not initiated. He said I could continue anyway, because I was born as a Brahman. He gave me the authority to continue for some time, but I could not continue because I used to go out. I lost all interest after he left. I was a government servant. How the association played the role. Even the great Mahatmas was living with him. Maya Devi is so strong. So I think it's a nice spot to stop here. It's 6:54. I should be punctual. The devotee may have to go to the work and get ready, and the household duties. I'm still not ready to expand up to 8 o'clock, so just wait. But there is always a sincere desire to attend. So the devotees from the West Coast, they can join and finish their rounds. Anyway, I'm sincerely appreciating everyone's support and your kind association. So I'd like to offer my humble obeisances at the desk of your lotus feet. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kipasindhubhayavacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaisnavebhyo namo namaha. So thank you very much, everyone.